Sisters and brothers and siblings, warm regards from the Oakland Education Association. I want to make it clear, this was not our decision. This was the decision of the Oakland Unified School District to, at the very last minute, lock us out of the building and deny the permit which had been approved. We had full district approval for this meeting today, and they shut it down. They took it back. But we're going to hold it anywhere. But I want to remind you, this is the same OUSD and school board which has refused to take up the mildest of ceasefire resolutions. We have been before the school board at least 3 times, and only once did we ever get it on the agenda, and that was for 5 minutes before the chair shut down the meeting. OUSD has a lot to answer for, and I'm going to urge you, particularly OEA teachers, but others, send them an email. Let them know how mad we are that they will not allow this meeting to take place. The OEA teachers, when we held our teach-in, we're still getting threatened by OUSD. We are still getting threatened by Zionist entities in Alameda County. But we're here today to demand free Palestine.
My name's Steve Salcaranas. I'm a trustee with Teamsters Local 223 out of Gladstone, Oregon.
And what brings you to this conference today on labor in Palestine?
Well, actually, I'm here on vacation, but I wanted to stop by and support this event and everything that everybody's doing here. And I think it's important that Teamsters members are in this space, especially Teamsters officers, because we're one of the only international unions that has not endorsed a ceasefire yet. And I think it's important for us to show that at least some of us have some, support the effort and all of that good stuff. So that's why I'm here today.
And the United States is supporting the Israeli government. 30,000 people have been killed. Our money, our taxes are going for this genocide, really. What should labor do about it?
Well, there's a lot of things that labor should do about it. At least in our union, we should, endorse a ceasefire, wholesale. But I think being in these spaces and trying to ask the community what it needs, the actual Palestinian community, what they want us to do is the most important part. So engaging, figuring out what the issues are, and meeting them where they need us to be.
And have you tried to get your local to pass a resolution around a ceasefire?
There's been some discussion around it. My bargaining unit actually has its own board, and we've already endorsed a ceasefire. But we're definitely talking with our local to try to get it done as well, because we would be the first local in the Joint Council to do so. So there'll be discussions.
There's also controversy around the invitation to Donald Trump to first the visit by the President, Sean O'Brien, to Mar-a-Lago, and then his visit to the international headquarters of the Teamsters, where he did a press conference in the lobby of the Teamsters. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll speak on behalf of my bargaining unit, and I think it's okay that I do that. We're not okay with it, and we wrote a letter as a bargaining unit to the international expressing our distaste with that, and we're going to continue to do so, not only as our bargaining unit but as Teamsters members as well, and just push it forward.
And a lot of Teamsters are black, brown, LGBTQ. There must be a lot of anger about that the union would be supporting the Republican National Committee, which is against the discrimination. That's
right. And the work that I've tried to do in the Teamsters is to do the coalition building. I originally met you a few years ago for Alan Baird's celebration, and that whole event was about coalition building. The work that he did was about coalition building, and something like this with Trump, it puts us back in the other direction. It's a step back the way I look at it, and I'm sure a lot of the members in my bargaining unit feel the same way about it. So, we got to keep it moving in the right direction, and this isn't it with Trump.
Thank you so much, Laura, for being here today.
Well, what a microcosm of the Palestinian struggle right here on the streets of Oakland. It's really amazing to see everyone here on a Sunday ready to engage in some deep building and relationships, organizing, training, thinking through strategy about this historic moment that we are in for the Palestine liberation movement, and specifically in relationship to the labor movement. I'm honored to be a part of this conversation. I expected it to be a little different. However, as we know in the Palestinian struggle, every time we organize and we build power, we are faced with intensified political repression. And that is what we're facing this morning, unfortunately. So I want to start by saying shame on Oakland Unified School District. Shame! And I want to compel every worker, every union that has representatives in the workforce of Oakland Unified to call on your leadership to condemn the cancellation of this event and this space, and to demand that Oakland Unified do better. Shame. That being said, we don't want our opposition to deter us any further, and let's focus on the task at hand, which is to assess this moment, what's possible, what are some of the challenges, and what are we going to be doing tomorrow to ensure that we put an end once and for all to this genocide. We are witnessing a historic moment, as tragic as it may be, with a groundswell of solidarity for the Palestine liberation movement. The masses of the world have risen up, including the masses of the Bay Area and the United States, all saying that the majority of the world stands with Palestine. And by extension, we know that the majority of the world are working people. And we know when the majority of the world stands with the Palestinian freedom struggle, the majority of the world are standing with working people all over. We must take in this huge victory because we know that it has taken years, decades, generations to build, to get to the point where we have the most historic moment in labor in terms of how many unions have spoken out, how many unions have taken action, how many workers are getting organized, and how we have demonstrated our solidarity. Let's acknowledge some of those wins locally. The Palestinian movement is calling for an immediate ceasefire. And we are calling for everybody in the world to join us, and they have. But not only people have joined us, labor unions have joined us. Right here in the Bay Area, United Educators of San Francisco joined us with a resolution for ceasefire. Oakland Educators Association joined us in solidarity with Palestine. SEIU 10, Local 10, SEIU 1021. United Here Local 2. USWW. ASME 3299. IFPTE Local 21. UAW 2865. California Faculty Association. Who else am I missing? Are we missing anybody? Who else has called for ceasefire? Bay Area IWW, right on. ILWU Local 10, of course.
CWA for Palestine.
CWA for Palestine. We have to take in every single win, because every single win, as we know, took relentless organizing and work on behalf of the rank and file and the leadership. Nationally, so we know the Bay Area always paves the road, right? We set the trend for the left and for the movement across this country. And nationally, we have the Postal Workers Union. We have the Electrical Union. We have the Association of Flight Attendants. National Nurses United. The Painters Union, and they're part of the building trades. National Educators Association. United Auto Workers. And SEIU. And I may be missing some. American Federation of Musicians. And not only are we passing ceasefire resolutions across the world and right here in the Bay Area, we have stopped international commerce in solidarity with Palestine. We have blocked the boat at the port of Oakland. unilaterally are blocking arms shipments, and workers are standing in solidarity with Palestinian workers across the world. And just recently, just last week, 7 national unions and over 200 local unions announced the formation of the National Labor Network for Ceasefire to expand the support for ceasefire amongst unions nationally. This network represents 9 million union workers, more than half of the labor movement in the United States. This comes on the heels of a statement calling for ceasefire by IFL-CIO, the largest federation of trade unions in the United States, wrought with contradictions. But we will celebrate this win because we know this is historic. This national network not only calls for ceasefire, but the labor unions are putting their muscle behind this call. They are calling for ceasefire, and they are calling on the President of the United States to call for an immediate ceasefire. We know these shifts are what we have been waiting for. But we're not just waiting for them, we've been organizing towards them. This is not just historic for the Palestinian movement, it's a win for the anti-war movement. Arguably, we may be experiencing the most massive anti-war statement on the part of organized labor in United States history. And we have said time before, and we'll say it again. Support for Palestine. There is consensus for support for Palestine amongst the social movement left. But today, we can say, without a doubt, there is support for ceasefire and Palestinian freedom across the mainstream, across the United States. So today, how do we move from these positions to material impact? We know that we are making an impact, otherwise these resolutions and this movement by labor would not have taken place. How do we build a united front so we are not making ourselves smaller than we are? To quote George Jackson, settle your quarrels, come together, understand the reality of our situation, understand that fascism is already here, that people are already dying who could be saved, that generations more will live poor, butchered half lives if you fail to act. We know that these resolutions to pass across these unions and across our movement not only require the buy-in from the broadest rank and file movement in history, it also requires, in some cases, enough pressure on leadership to move in that direction. This is huge. This is how organizing works. We need to celebrate these major victories and create the conditions for all those who are moving, who hold the most power in labor, from everyday workers to executive boards, to join us, to do all they can, all we can to end this genocide. And we know it's not just about ending this genocide, but goddamn, this genocide needs to end. As AIPAC, we are proud to have organized and participated in political education and work with many rank and file members of unions, staff, and leadership, and worked with unions over the years to extend our reciprocal solidarity, to join their strike lines, to make it clear that this is a united front against all forms of oppression. We know that ILWU Local 10, right here at the Port of Oakland, has not touched the Israeli shipping line, has not done business with the only Israeli shipping line, the Zim ship, for 10 years and counting. That is what is possible when you do the slow and steady work of organizing, when you work with labor, when you work with the rank and file, when you work with leadership, when you build a movement. Let us also talk about UAW. UAW didn't just pass a ceasefire resolution. They announced the creation of a divestment and just transition working group to, quote unquote, study the history of Israel and Palestine, our union's economic ties to the conflict, and explore how we can have a just transition for U.S. workers from war to peace. Opportunities for our movement today are endless, and we are eager as a movement to continue to work and learn from labor. We know that as other struggles and other liberation fights, it takes all of us to be able to overcome the consolidated opposition we are facing of U.S. imperialism, Western imperialism, and apartheid Israel. So as we think about United Front work, I compel you all to also consider May Day, International Workers' Day, that's coming right around the corner. We are seeing opportunities today for us to demonstrate not only our community and movement power, but the labor power to stop this war once and for all. So as we pass resolutions and we do the work to end this genocide, let's also as a movement, and now I speak to the Palestinian movement, show up for labor and be there on their strike lines. This is reflective of the Palestinian left and the spirit of internationalism that goes against all forms of fascism and militarism. I look forward, and we look forward to building together, to learn how we can shift the conditions, to take action and organize to ensure that when we look back at this time, we know we did all we could do, despite our racist opposition. That we did all we could do, despite institutional discrimination and political repression. That we did all we could do, despite state violence and the bombs raining down on our people in Gaza, to put an end to this genocidal war and to support the Palestinian people in their struggle for Palestinian self-determination. And let us all remember today that our work doesn't just start here or stop here. This is a protracted struggle. But when we look behind us, let's make sure that we see all other people right behind us, not trailing far ahead. Because that's what it looks like to build a real movement. Long live international solidarity.
Thank you so much, Laura. Thanks for all the work that you've been doing and for helping lead this movement. I think we have a much bigger group than when I first announced this. So for folks that don't know, we were originally planning to be inside the school building behind me. We received notice of our reservation being canceled just yesterday, so we're having to adjust as a result. That's right. We have a clear opponent here in Oakland in terms of the Oakland School District, and so our comrades in the Oakland Education Association and SEIU 1021 and many other unions, we have to work together to push back against this administration. And for anyone who needs, we do have Spanish translation over here by the Solidarity with Palestinian Labor Union signs. Para los que quieran o necesitan, tenemos traducción en español para todo el evento aquí en la derecha. Por favor, si quieren o necesitan. Next up, we have another big leader within this movement of Palestinian solidarity. We have Monadel Herzallah from the U.S. Palestinian Community Network. Thank you so much for being here, Monadel.
Thank you so much. Great to see you all, brothers and sisters in the labor movement. I am so honored to be talking after our sister leader, Lara, who played an instrumental role in building coalitions with community groups and labor unions when they did the Block the Vote in 2014. We are, as you know, my name is Miranda Herzallah. I am proud member of San Francisco United Educators of United Educators of San Francisco. Here?
No, behind the speakers.
Oh, okay. I'm also a proud member of the plaintiffs who are filing a lawsuit against the President Joe Biden and holding him responsible for killing thousands of families in Gaza, including members of my own family. Plaintiffs in that, I think many of you were here in Oakland in 26th of January when we had that court date. Since then until now, I believe each and every one of us have lost more members. Just to know, when we look at numbers coming from Gaza, these are people These are kids with plans, with dreams. 2 weeks ago, Asma Herzallah, one of my cousins, a mother of 6 kids, were murdered in Khan Yunis. A week later, one of her kids, 12 years old Sally, was killed because of that wound that she suffered from them. I wanted to mention that so we know that this is not only political, but it's also personal. It's a human. It is the most documented genocide and the most denied genocide. People are being killed as we speak. As we speak, people are being killed. So I think, as Francis Fanon said, when Algerians were struggling against their oppressors, they said the best way for healing of the oppressed is to struggle against the oppressors. And I see myself here in the right time at the right place. And I cannot do much to say more than what Sister Laura has mentioned, except I think it's really important to highlight the fact that our members, our reunion brothers and sisters in Gaza, first sent their appeal here, first 2 weeks of October, and it's still valid, although the numbers is much higher. I wanna read part of their letter, if you let me. Palestinian General Federation of Trade Unions, Gaza. Brothers and sisters of the Trade and Workers Union in the United States of America, from the midst of rubble, at the center of the ethnic cleansing war committed by the apartheid regime of Israel against our people in the Gaza Strip, we send you this urgent appeal to bring you closer to the image of the massacres and the full-fledged war crimes against more than 2 million citizens in Gaza, including over 70% who are unemployed and live below the poverty line, enduring extremely difficult conditions. Israeli aggression has exaggerated the suffering of the Palestinians in Gaza and even demolished homes on their heads, depriving them for the 10th days on the road. Now we're talking about over 145 days of electricity, water, fuel, medicine, and necessary medical supplies. The apartheid regime of Israel is not satisfied with these heinous atrocities. It is also targeting journalists, medical teams, ambulances, firefighters, leading to the complete destruction of Gaza's infrastructure. And Israel has escalated its crime by targeting institutions and trade union offices, reducing them to ruins. Dear brothers and sisters, with deep sincerity and appreciation for your leadership role and the unions, constant support of our rights, we will never forget the previous vicious attacks in 2009 and 2014 and 2021, when you made your voices loud and clear, when your heroic port workers blocked the boat, the Israeli-owned Zim cargo ships. Now the aggressive vicious attacks are continuing on a much larger scale. We urge you to stand with us again and rise the level of the war being waged against us all. We ask you your support for the following. 1, to exert pressure on the U.S. administration and international community as a whole. Immediately hold the apartheid regime of Israel's aggression against defenseless civilians in Gaza, and condemn the collective punishment that has been imposed on us for more than 15 years. Second, to end the siege that has been imposed on Gaza and pressure Israel to recognize our legitimate rights preserved by international law. Israel is the main cause of its instability in the region. Of course, that letter was drafted in October, way before the ICJ case introduced by the people and the brothers and sisters of South Africa. That says volumes. That says you know who are your friends and who are your enemies. People, brothers and sisters who fought against the apartheid regime of South Africa are leading to the world against the injustice. 3 times as possible. Believing in the justice of our cause and our legitimate court in struggle for a better world and a world of peace and justice, as they can know no peace without justice. And Bashir al-Sisi, member of the General Federation of Palestinian Unions. I tell you, my friends, my brothers and sisters, as part of the, as a union organizer or a shop steward or an activist member, our fight is not only in courts. Our fight's in the streets. Imagine if you had a contract fight and you make an appointment with the employer, you say, by the way, you have violated, item 2, item 5, and item 7 of our contract. He's not going to listen. But if we go in the streets and we raise our voice high, we will never retreat. Maybe the Israelis and whoever backing them, this government, the US government, they may have a political victory here and there. They may have military victory here and there. But I tell you, just by listening to our brothers and sisters contacting us from Gaza, they will never, ever break our spirit. Thank you for being here.
Our next speaker is Gulzar Tehrani from SEIU 1021 Members for Palestine.
Hey y'all, thanks for having me here. Let's give one more cheer to our last 2 speakers. So I'm Gulzar, I'm here with 1021 Members for Palestine. We're a self-organized rank-and-file group of SEIU 1021 members using our union power to demand a permanent ceasefire and an end to the occupation in solidarity with Palestinian demands for liberation, sovereignty, and the right to return. We first came together to write more than just a ceasefire resolution. Since our resolution passed, we have begun taking action to hold our leaders accountable to the commitments of our resolution. They've taken some steps to honor our demands, like President Teresa Rutherford joined many of you at Padilla's office earlier this week. Give a cheer if you were there. And our San Francisco region vice president has stood with the Bay Bridge 78, who have, Many of us are also members of Purple Up for Palestine, who are members and staff of SEIU nationwide, where we're working to disrupt the union's endorsement of Biden. But we still have a ways to go. And we know none of this will free Palestine or us alone. So as you know, it's been 143 days and 100 years of Israeli occupation and genocide of the Palestinians. And our president, senators, and union leadership have not listened to our demands. I know it can feel extremely frustrating and disheartening to see the situation become more dire while our elected officials continue to facilitate the violence. I'd like to uplift a quote by Hassan Kanafani. Everything in this world can be robbed and stolen, except one thing. This one thing is the love that emanates from a human being towards a solid commitment to a conviction or a cause. As we go through the day, I invite everyone to think about what skills and passions you have that you can contribute to the cause. And as we grow the movement, I remind us all to reflect on the power of our ancestors and our elders and past liberation movements, such as South Africa's fight for apartheid and the Algerian fight for liberation. I also encourage everyone to remember that all fights for liberation are interconnected. For example, the fight to stop the 69 COP cities, including one in San Pablo and in Santa Cruz. Shame. It's connected to freeing Palestine, not just because our COPs and the IOF work together to train each other to oppress us, but because we deserve care, not COPs worldwide. On a similar note, I'd like to highlight that AI and drones are used to violently kill people in Palestine. And in San Francisco, this election, they want to pass Prop E, which will allow the police here to surveil us with AI and drones. We must vote no on that. We know that the people in power are focused on capital. War is very profitable. And we also know that there are weapons manufacturers like L3 Harris here in the Bay. May we remember our power as workers and our position in the belly of the beast. May we be creative and steadfast in our solidarity with the Palestinian fight for liberation, as our government funnels billions of dollars to this genocide every few weeks. I hope today helps us grow our solidarity movement and helps us prepare to take more direct action with each other, with our coworkers, and with our broader communities. Thank you everyone who's come today, and thank you to everyone who's wearing a mask or who plans to wear one inside. We are in our highest rate of COVID transmission in any February yet. We need to keep each other safe. We need to take care of each other. Power to the people, power to the workers. Woo! Together, we can get more than just a ceasefire. We can get solidarity until liberation and return and rebuilding. When people are occupied, resistance is justified. When people are occupied, resistance is justified. Thank you.
Rosa here, who's a nurse, who's an activist.
Hi. My name is Rosita. I've been organizing out here in the Bay Area, and you have the heart. Everyone in Palestine goes in our heart every single day. We're out there moving, shaking. We're doing everything to raise our voices for the people of Palestine, for every single one of them. So just know that you're not alone. I know it may feel like you're alone, but you're not alone.
And there's a network called Healthcare Workers for Palestine with over 500 healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, unions, all over the Bay Area of healthcare workers who are organizing day and night.
Unprecedented. So when everything started...
Every word you say, it gives us a lot of strength, and we believe that we are not alone. We believe that our voice is well listened all over the world, even in the United States or in Canada. So I'm very impressed to hear your voice, to hear your words, and thank you very much.
No, thank you. This is something we have to do to retain our humanity. You know, we can't see something like this unfold anywhere. I'm an Indigenous woman, so I know what it feels like to have someone take your land and take your culture and dehumanize you, and to put you in a box where you don't belong, and to throw you and try to discard you. So it's important we stand in solidarity with each other, but healthcare workers have definitely been on the front lines of looking at this as a humanitarian, as a healthcare issue, as a human rights issue, as everything issue. So we're going to keep fighting. We're fighting our institutions. We're fighting everywhere. So don't worry. We have a lot of energy.
My email, my WhatsApp, anything you need, any information you need, I'm available. And I highly appreciate and value every word you say. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
We talked about how obviously we would love to build, and part of building the power for the working class to strike over things like Palestine, to stop genocides, the power of the working class to impose our will is the ultimate goal, and that's the strike. Where we're at right now, the unions aren't doing that. But we can unite the class in order to blockade and disrupt and force the issue to the unions and the working class in general. So what came out of our workshop ultimately was a proposal for a coordinated economic blockade nationally, using the West Coast ports and a coordinated port shutdown as the backbone for that economic.